All right, time to get there and get this thing done. We have got a lot of work to do. Lots and lots and lots of fucking work. All right, I want to knock this guy out so that way I can send it off today. That is my goal. Two that I want to send off. First of all, good morning, everyone. Well, that stinks. My password's not working. Oh, that sucks. All right, so let me see if I can get this guy to work here. So sorry, guys. Yeah, for some weird reason, I did not see that my stuff wasn't scheduled. But that's okay. Wow, I'm gonna have to reset this tablet because it's not working. What's going on, Gabe? Reset that tablet. It's frustrating. Yeah, trying to knock down this gunslinger. Yeah, I thought that it was scheduled, but I was not paying attention, so that threw me all off this morning. I came in at 8:34, and I usually have my stuff ready for 8:30, and for some reason, it just was not scheduled. Yeah, weird things like that. It's just frustrating. So, how you been? How's your day been so far? I know it's early. Okay, I do have that one there. Yeah, I mean, you've been killing it lately, my friend. I thought yesterday was really cool seeing that piece that you did. Now, mind you, Dale Keown is probably one of my favorite, Hulk artists of all time. I really appreciate that. One of these times we're just gonna have to do it where where I have you on. That way we can do like a back and forth, like a good dialogue there. I gotta see how that whole system works. I don't want to half do it. I want it to be cool. I don't know. I mean, that's just time in. That's all that is. I just try to pass on what people will try to pass on to me. Yeah, I mean, I will definitely say that. I mean, I've gone through a lot of headaches in my career of getting to where I am now, and I'm always um, pushing. I'm always trying to push barriers for myself. What's going on, Jeffrey? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, I don't know if I ever told you um, my story, man. Like how I actually ended up like pushing and getting to this point. Yeah, this is a there's a big story behind what got me here. So I'm gonna give you the download because I think in all the time that I've done this, I don't think I've really touched on it that much. So I think it's important for people to kind of know. Um, so my life into comics has always been there, right? So at 13, I was drawing and illustrating my own comics that I wanted to draw. No, this is all good because it's really helpful for people to know, backstory to how people get to the spots they're in. So, for mine, it's just like when I was a kid, I used to like draw like crazy. I would sit in my room and that's all I did. That was my happy place, right? Like most people. Most kids, sit up there, they're illustrating anything that they can. They're trying to, replicate the knowledge that they see, right? And I was no different. I was absolutely that kid. Oops, wrong colors. I'm using that. I'm supposed to be using warm. Yeah, warm's not cool. So sorry. I'm going to wrap up or get my story moving here in a second. Just got to get the right colors. What's going on, Ann? Welcome. So my story basically was that I would draw and draw and draw. So this is like age, you know, 12, 13, somewhere in there, right? And I ended up coming up when, Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld were, when they were really like cooking. So that for me was like, they say it's like the comic revolution. I was in that realm where I just want to be part of that, right? So I did whatever I could, learning and sucking up as much information as I could from all of them. So that way, my hope, my aspiration was to be like, okay, I'm going to end up working for one of these companies. That was what I wanted to do. Let me see. So I got to get my right colors because I got to refill here. Um, so I did that, and I got to a point where I was secure enough in my own skills. I was like, I'm going to apply for I'm going to apply to be at like Image Comics. That's what I wanted to do. I was like, I'm going to do that. That's a dope goal. I could do that. And so early on, when Image first started, they were trying to find talent. That was their thing. They were trying to find young talent to help grow their world. Shortly after they launched, so I'm thinking like maybe a year and a half after they launched, that's when like Image was trying to get more talent in to start boosting these books and making the company grow because they couldn't just grow off of Spawn and all that stuff. Well, I submitted, and unfortunately, my first submission that I did ever just did not sit well. I mean, it was good to get the feedback. It hurt a lot because I had to hear what they had to say, and it was a rejection. But rejection, can be used as fuel, or it can be used as a way to cop out. And I'm not a cop out kind of person. I will push through. Holy cow, this is way darker than I thought it was going to be. It's okay. Um, I know what I'm going to do. So I powered through, and ultimately was like, hey, I can either I could either just, use that as what's up, Seek, as fuel, or I can just, wallow. So I just decided I'm just going to keep on learning. They gave like the basic feedback. They're like, you draw you draw cool, but you still need to work on your sequentials. That's something that you have to have. And when you're young and you don't really know, you have to figure out those kind of things. So I at that point had to go back to the drawing board. I got my copy of How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. Um, Nice to see you on here, by the way. So I went through there and I started working on like anatomy and stuff like that. And I still just it was still rough. I was just trying to do the cool stuff without really understanding the construction behind the designs that I was trying to create. And that's not a smart way to go when you're doing this kind of stuff, when you're trying to get up there with the rest of the people that are doing their thing. What's up, Aunt? So I learned and I just kept on pushing. Um, Fast forward that to like, you know, I'm going to say like 2005. A friend of mine by the name of Jason, he wanted to do his own comic. And then he was like, hey, you know what? I have these characters. I can draw, but I need an artist to do it because I want to focus on the story. And I was like, okay. So I drew up these pieces and I thought they were really cool. They were very dynamic. I was trying to do them nice and big. They're kind of stretchy. So a very old, I would say like late 90s anime style. That's how I was going with it. Um, Especially with the proportions and everything. One day I'll have to find them and I'll bring them onto the show. Um, and I just kept on pushing. But however, the one thing that people don't really like impress upon you when you're starting off this thing, and I think needs to be mentioned, is that when you're a kid, you don't really understand deadlines. You understand them as far as like school goes, but you don't understand how they work as far as like the real world working stuff. Yeah, I'm just trying to. Oh, yesterday was fun. It was really good. Yeah, I mean, it's um deadlines are huge, and I think it just needs to be impressed upon people why they're so important. And so, as an artist, and this is a artist issue, artists have a problem with deadlines. However, in the comic book world, or in any type of world, even when you're working in your regular job, we all know as adults, we know that if we miss our deadline, it could be like a cascading domino effect, right? And when it came to me working with this guy Jason, he had an idea of how long he wanted to do, how long he wanted me to take to get this stuff done. And I was like, okay. And I was kind of shocked when he told me, he's like, yeah, we're not going to be able to proceed because the turnaround time that you're doing is just not working for me. He was just like, I need to get going. Like, this is my thing. I really want to get it moving, but I can't do it at your pace. And that was a little like jarring for me at first, and I had to take that in. So I had to, go back to the drawing board and be like, wow, that's something I need to work on. And it's been an ongoing thing that, in all my career of trying to make sure that I hit deadlines. If I tell somebody I'm going to do something, as I've gotten older, if I say if I'm about to say like it's going to be 3 days, I like double that because that gives me cushion room, or I'll triple it. And I'd rather give them more. Hold on. Hold on one second. So sorry. My boy's reaching out. Yeah, and as we get older, we just gotta, encounter that. So that was an ongoing struggle for me, in addition to trying to learn how to do a lot of these things that I just did not um, understand. Understanding how to do storytelling is a process, and especially visually. So it's a little bit easier when you're doing animation because you can do it over a series of different frames. I mean, the concept is still the same when you're doing comics, but you have to make it dynamic. It has to move. It can't be stagnant. So if you're doing a comic strip, usually those are more like a side scroll. Um, but um, but when you're starting to do comics, you got to do different angles, you got to do different perspectives, all that kind of good stuff. And it can't just be all splash pages because that's what at the time was being presented to everybody. Every cover, like we would buy. I remember buying like Rob Liefeld's books just because he did cool covers. And realistically, that's not how comics are made. I mean, they're made from the inside out because if you don't have any depth inside, then you just have a pretty cover. All right, so that's one lesson that I learned. And moving that needle a little bit further, you know, I just I got to a point where I had to fix a lot of these problems, right? So I ended up getting another shot with a buddy of mine. His name's Charlie. So Charlie and I met in college. He just happened to see me like doing little doodles of like Magneto and all these other characters, right? And I was just trying to, get a feel for drawing characters again because I kind of lost my way because of I had been discouraged. And so he was like, "Hey, dude, you do some good work. I mean, you and I should talk. I have some comics that I'm looking to create. I would love to do them in your style and then eventually pitch them so that way they can be like cartoons and stuff." And mind you, this guy he's got a very like cartoon like 90s vibe to him when he's talking about his work, and it's fun. Like all of his stuff is very deep, but it's fun at the same time. And I was like, let's go. So he tells me the story about these warriors. What's going on, Beyond? Tells me the story about these warriors, and basically they are the last soldiers in a big war against darkness. So think of like the devil going against the last people of humanity. Oh, thank you so much. um so we have those characters, and you have to draw them, but eventually they're going to turn into these like beast forms. So basically they're going to be animal versions of humans. I was like, okay, well that's cool. um and I was down, so I just started throwing down some ideas after we had a couple of meetings. He had an idea of what his characters were going to look like. One was a bear, one was an eagle, the leader was a lion. So it was very 90s inspired, and I just went with it. And I was able to create some stuff. We went back and forth design wise, and we were able to come up with some cool ideas, and we finally landed on the basic designs of all the characters. Now the cool part was it was me, this writer, and then he had another buddy, which was a mutual friend of ours named Andrew, and all of us were basically the inspiration for the characters. So I basically kind of drew the characters to mimic the people that were associated with the book. So it made it kind of easy because it's something I knew. And I eventually turned that into the book that we started and we kickstarted called Beast Knights. Um, And again, this comes back to like deadlines too. Over the course of creating Beast Knights, it probably took me about a year to draw the one book, and that's due to a lot of back and forth, and also due to the fact that doing a book from scratch is hard. Especially if you've never done it. It's one thing to draw your own little books, but when you're starting to draw like real shit and you get like a good ways in, you're ready to rock. Well, in the midst of us creating this book, we have a buddy of ours that has that's working for a publishing company, and basically what he does is he's a rep. And I don't know if you've ever heard of like Humanoids, but that's the company. So he goes like, "Look, I'm going out to California, and I'm gonna be seeing the owner of Humanoids, and if you want, I can see if I can send him your stuff so he can take a look at it and give you some feedback." So we knew the deadline because the guy was going out there during San Diego Comic Con. So he was going to have a good face to face with this guy and give him our stuff. Well, I knew when San Diego Comic Con was coming in or going on, and I waited till like literally 2 days before the guy was going to leave. Like I had barely anything done, so I rushed to get these pages done, and they were not good. Like I knew it going into it, and I was like, here's some stuff, and I did like some photocopies and gave them to him. I'm like, yeah, I already knew that it was going to come back like kind of rough. And surely enough, when it did come back, it was. The guy was like, you guys have some cool ideas, but it's just not what we're looking for. The illustration was just not strong, and that's okay. That gave us some good feedback in the fact that we needed to tighten up, and I specifically needed to tighten up because the story had been written and all that stuff. I just needed to execute. So I spent the next little bit really retooling and again getting better at my craft and getting better at the characters. So I spent probably another 6 months just working on pages and all that stuff because I had to illustrate them and then I had to digitally ink them. And mind you, at this time I was trying to learn how to digitally ink better. So I'm doing all of these things, not a smart move. Um, and I ended up getting through my first book and my second book. And when we were producing the second book, we had a fourth guy. Now, he was the most like essential person to this whole thing because our fourth guy was this gentleman by the name of John. And John was our graphic designer. Like he was the stuff. That's what he did as a profession. But when he first started out, he and his wife, I think they had just been married for a little bit and they were thinking about having children. So we got to the second book and he was like, I need to make a choice. I have a 9 to 5 that I work where I get paid well, and I'm just doing this for fun. I can't do this all the time because now I'm working another like 30 to 40 hours a week, coloring up your stuff, getting all the verbiage in there, all the typography, working on logos, all that stuff. And typically, like his job is expensive, right? Because as a graphic designer doing that kind of stuff, you're charging between $30 to $40 an hour. And he's doing this stuff for us for free because it's something fun he wants to do. Um, he had a published book, a couple of them, and he had kind of hit that peak for that particular season. And he just was like, I can't do this. I have to make a call where I'm not going to be able to do this. So what made it hard was that John contributed in more ways than I even really knew because I was more on the side of just doing the illustration and all that stuff. But John built our website. He did all the graphics, he did all of the lettering, he did all the shadows, all the final touches to all of our stuff. He even was the one that did the production of the book. Like he set it all up in InDesign and got it ready for production, all that stuff. things I didn't do, but I mean, I wanted to learn how to do, right? But I just wasn't there. So because that there was a huge void that messed us up big time. And I had to kind of like step up and be like, I'm gonna have to learn how to do all this stuff. So I learned like how to do Photoshop. Eventually, I got knowledge on how to do InDesign and had to learn some Illustrator stuff. I just wasn't like super good at it. I just was good enough. But I got to a point where I ended up using learning all that information so that way I could now do the job that I'm doing currently. I learned all the things that I could learn about graphic design, thought processes, all that kind of fun stuff. Parlayed it into, learning how to build websites. Um, got really good at digital art to the point where I started selling it. Um, Again, like I said, I tried to kickstart the third book. I was successful in that, but I didn't follow through on finishing that Kickstarter. But that's one thing that even though it's not done yet, I'm still going to handle my obligation and get that done. Even though it's years past the time, I'm still going to get it done because I just think that people believed in me enough to do it, so I'm going to take care of them. So that's one of my main things that I have on my plate. So I literally just have to go back in there, clean up my work, make sure everything like matches because where I was years ago, where versus where I'm now, two different things. So I don't want the things to be inconsistent. So does that mean I'm going to redraw some stuff? Absolutely. But I can draw faster now. So it's going to be a lot of shorthand. It's just going to be like retouching a lot of stuff. And it'll be fun. I mean, it's going to be the first thing I do before I do my book. Okay. So it's going to be a really fun adventure knocking that out. And I will probably, once I do that, I'll probably relaunch that Kickstarter, just so I can get more people out there. And I'm going to probably do like a very, very small one. But that's the backstory of how this whole thing came to be. That's how I ended up getting into comics in general. I would have never gotten this far if it hadn't been for all of those like steps. You have to fail in order to succeed. I mean, people say like I never fail. Well, yeah, you've had to fail a couple times in order to get where you are. You know, you failed when you were playing video games, so that sparked the challenge of figuring out how to be better at it. Yeah, and failure sucks. Trust me, it really does. But I'd rather fail to get to the next 100 steps versus not failing and really not making a lot of progress. Think of how many drawings that you've done and you've kind of thrown away, or that you've turned the page in your drawing pad. Those are failures, but they're leading you to a better path. And people just don't get that. Yeah, you have to. They say you have to break some eggs to make an omelet, right? And you're never going to get anywhere if you just sit stagnant. And it's just not going to work that way. You just can't. Yeah, no worries. I mean, I hope you have a good time, working on those. Look, at the end of the day, if it helps you, step up your game, I did something good for you. I'm good with that. We're supposed to share our knowledge. We're not supposed to hoard everything. I mean, I'm tired of being scared that everybody else is going to, take over and everybody's going to have things that at the end of the day, it's just stuff. What's going on? It's good to see you online, Step. You got some skills. I'm not gonna lie, that Black Widow that you had up there, I almost went ahead and pulled the trigger the other night. I just didn't have my card on me. Hmm. Yeah, you weren't kidding. You definitely slay the ladies. You got it. You got a definite skill in that. And I won't lie, if I get a chance to go to MegaCon, I am definitely going to look you up. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to make it up there this year. So, what happened at your interview at San Diego Comic Con? You got to spill the tea, Gabe. Thank you. Well, you want to know something? This is actually not a brown. It looks like it. It's kind of close, but this is actually a warm gray color. It's very deceiving. I thought the same thing. Yeah, dynamic positioning is very important. Yeah, this warm gray will make your piece like on reds, it makes it pop out a little more. Now, typically what I would have done is I would have gone underneath the red, but I wasn't thinking about that. And then it would have compounded, but I just went the reverse, so I'm just putting it on top of the red. But check this out. So like when I put the warm gray, like when I outline like this, now you can see that it's a gray. And then I'm going to go over that with the number 3 and it'll kind of smooth it out a little bit more. So it almost looks like a halo. Yeah, I mean, that's very important. Yeah, Lynn, I'm trying to teach you all the little tricks that I know. Yeah, the other trick is like if you ever get into Copics or even like in painting that I found out, like you don't need a ton of colors. That's the misconception. You can make colors by just layering them up. Why is that? These are Copic markers. So that's a Copic marker. Why are the finances getting weird? Well, here's the thing, like the thing with MegaCon, and this is like the first time in a while because I really used to not want to go to MegaCon because it was very overwhelming for me, but I had a really pleasant trip last year where I went on a Friday, which was way better than going on a Saturday or a Sunday. Um, but my daughter is coming back into town that on the 27th. So we have to fly out to Texas, and that's gonna put a little pinch in my wallet. Oh, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it honestly, if I can swing it, I'll do it. My only thing is, if I'm going to MegaCon, I go to MegaCon for specific things. Like I want to get specific art done. Um, I have artist that I want to run into. She does like she works internationally, and I think she did a book called like Luna or something like that. But I've only seen her come to Florida a couple times, and last year was the first time I saw her in person. But she wanted $100 for her book, and I couldn't swing that at that point in time. I was able to get like Stephen Platt, and I got John Boy Myers to hook me up with some stuff. So that was fun the year I went. But I definitely want to get some new art. I want to get some art that's not fan art. I want to get some real authentic stuff. So I'm looking for people that do their own thing. I met somebody that did like a graffiti based art comic book, and that was really cool last year. This buddy of mine, his name's Otis. He did his own book, and I bought his book because it was just so unique. And he sold me on his design more than anything else. It was very funky. The shapes were really cool, and I've used that book even in when I'm teaching my students. And this is what I tell people, even when I go to comics, go to cons and stuff like that. You can when you're out there in that con world, it's great that you can draw stuff like this, right? You can draw the fan art. Definitely don't definitely have that in your pocket. Like have, the prints and all that stuff. But showcase your own work because that's what makes you stand out against the crowd. Especially like at MegaCon, there's so many people that, as you know, they have the wall of prints of everything, right? And it's usually the same thing, and all the artwork looks the same because it's all like super digital. No, I completely understand the financial thing. I mean, you guys, I mean, there's like I'm always trying to find ways to improve that side of things. With this, like I take like Whatnot and I use the Whatnot money for all the other fun things I like to do. So I'm very specific on why I use this platform. Yeah, but going back to the unique stuff, I like seeing people's unique work because the passion and the power behind your own work is different than doing somebody else's work. If that makes sense. Yeah, see? I mean that so Whatnot has a lot of ability to help you out. Like I use Whatnot and I set goals for myself for what I want to do. And I honestly I've hit all my goals that I've wanted to do so far, minus the cards, and that's only because I haven't been working on those lately. Um, but Whatnot's definitely helped me out. So on the financial thing, I mean, you can definitely hit that goal. But mind you, Gabe, you honestly, you're just getting started, and people will definitely start jumping onto your stuff, the more that you're producing, and that will probably balance out all the financial stress, or at least mitigate some of it. What's up, Pisces? Yeah, I'm just talking in general. I mean, I'm just surprised, like the amount of people on here. I honestly feel like you get better deals coming through Whatnot than you do going to Artist Alley. And I don't have to deal with crowds on here. Yeah, I mean, look, that Hulk piece was dope. The Hulk piece is a very very cool piece of artwork. You definitely brought some serious heat when you did that. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely, this is not my full time. I know people that do. Yeah, I mean, I would say, um, always open yourself up to going to certain things like that. I mean, you're on the West Coast, so you have that Dali museum over on the West Coast, which is really dope. And I would say, just going into something like that, and I know that they do exhibits every so often. That's a really cool thing. Yeah. If you take a look at that and you really, examine the thought processes behind that, that's really cool. Oh man, I think I'm gonna miss my art gallery thing in Boca. Dang it. Forgot to do that. Yeah, we have a speaking of art stuff, we have an art museum in Boca, and they're doing Art Nouveau, which is one of my favorite genres of art, and I think I'm gonna miss it because we have other things we got to do this weekend. It has been a very busy February. I did not realize February flew by so dang quick. See, I think just your husband doesn't, appreciate that part. Like he has to, like anybody that doesn't, go to art museums, they got to stop. That's the thing. They have to stop, and I would the best bet to say is like you got to stop and smell the roses, kind of thing, because that's how you appreciate that kind of stuff. I'm gonna probably have to do that. Yeah, I probably will. Yeah, I mean, those kind of things, just the exposure. Like my wife, when we first met, my wife knew nothing about like comics and all that stuff, and she's slowly but surely been introduced to it. Like I remember taking her to her first con, and she was like quasi excited and weirded out because she'd never been to something like that. But now she's like, no problem. But um, you have to kind of ease people into that kind of stuff. My wife is a little more open minded to that thing as well, so I think that was kind of helpful. Art's a hard medium for people to really, get appreciation for. And I mean, I myself have there's certain mediums of art I'm just not a fan of. Like I don't like minimalism. I don't feel like it's, in my opinion, I don't feel like it's a real form of art because you're not really putting a lot of effort, or at least doesn't seem like you're putting a lot of effort into something. Oh no, I'm definitely gonna check that out for sure. Okay, well, I will definitely be checking that book out. I need to get a brown. All right, what's the book? Bring it on. I'm ready to hear it. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not gonna. I'll say it again. I'm not gonna poo-poo on somebody else's design stuff. I just don't get it. I feel like I said, I feel like it's lazy work. Um, like I knew there was an artist that literally put a dot on a canvas. The one color, like I remember seeing this one person that did. I can't remember who it was, but he did. It was like multiple colors on it in a specific pattern. Like I thought that was cool. But somebody getting a big old canvas, like one huge canvas, and putting a dot, no, I think that's lazy. The whole thing about the what was it, the banana on a canvas. I'm like, I understand that's an installation and all that stuff, but that's not art. That's performance. People that splatter paint on a canvas, and I mean splatter. I'm not talking about artistically. I'm talking like they're literally throwing paint at a canvas. That's lazy. I'll definitely check that out. I mean, if look, I could get the fact that if somebody was like, I'm telling a story of like anger, this is an emotional story tell. So this is what I did. I I can kind of wrap my head around it, but no. How are you doing this morning, Kay? I gotta get my extender. Well, all of us in this chat are amazing. Not just, and you included, Kay. All of us are. So there's something to be said, like, when I see artists that are literally like designing, a building, or they're, building a collage of artwork, that is art to me. And yes, I get it. Art is subjective and all that stuff. But again, like when you're just throwing stuff on a canvas, with no rhyme or reason and just hoping because you happen to be popular, that's going to, your stuff is going to sell. I don't like that. Oh, no worries. No, no, I'm definitely going to check that out. And that's unfortunate. Maybe they'll read it objectively. So in the comic book world as an artist, what can be Are you asking me how to work on sequentials? Doing this or doing my comic the same way? Like how did I improve upon my how am I improving upon my sequential art? Is that what you're asking me? Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. Um, you in order to become better at sequential art, number one, you have to realize number one, there's more you're doing multiple panels. So if you think of it like the basics of when they used to do comics back in the day, where we had like 4 to 6 panels. Let's think about it like that. Like you had 4 panels, like 1, 2, 3, 4, like the regular Z pattern, right? You have to be able to tell the sequence in those 4 panels, and they all have to be dynamic, right? So if we're thinking about it like two people talking to each other, this is how you get better at it. Don't do the pretty things. So like don't worry about like doing Spider-Man fighting somebody else. Like get away from that particular thing. That's the pretty. Can you do artwork that's not the pretty? Can you do Peter Parker talking to Mary Jane? Can you do that? Can you do Peter Parker, talking to Uncle Ben? The basic, the boring stuff that people don't like because that's the important part. That's how you build the connection. And when you think about it, like when somebody's talking, can you show the sequence where they're side to side, like at a table? Can you show a 3/4 angle, like where you're up on their shoulder? How's it going? What's up, see mine things? Appreciate the love. Just working on this good old spawn. But the way that you get better at it is you have to draw the boring stuff first. Because once you get to the boring stuff, when you start drawing the action, it just gets easy. Because when you're drawing the boring stuff, it's usually slow. And when you start drawing the fun stuff, it moves at a faster pace, so you need less panels. So, a better analogy of it is think about like having a meal, right? Like, in order to get to the good stuff, typically your parents would have said, you need to eat your green beans, you need to eat your veggies, right? That's the boring stuff. That's not the fun stuff. So you have to eat that first. Get through that get through that stuff that you don't like. And then when you go ahead and get to the pizza or the steak or the potatoes, that stuff is that much better because you had to go through the stuff that you didn't like. That's how my aunt used to say, like, you can't have this until you finish this. Like, eat those Brussels sprouts. And you're not getting dessert until you do that. And the same thing is with this. Like, you have to, even when you're doing drawing, you have to go to the boring part of setting up the structure first. And then when you start putting on the pretty and the color and all that stuff, everything starts to pop. And you have to practice it. That's the biggest thing. Nobody really practices sequentials. I mean, I would, the things that I would do is, like, if you want to practice it, grab a comic, reinterpret the scene that you see in your comic. And again, not the fun stuff, the boring stuff. That's what I was told, and I used to do that all the time. So the watercolor is just your medium. Do the illustration first, and then use the watercolor to enhance it. Yeah, definitely change the angles and all that stuff. Like, there was a time when I was watching an interview with Todd McFarlane, and he was talking about how to set up a scene. So he was talking about, okay, well, somebody gets in a car wreck, right? How would you be able to change the perspective? Well, you could literally have a scene where somebody's driving, and that you see them driving, but you you see their hand, right? You see their hand, but just to the left of their hand, you see the side mirror, and the side mirror is showing the collision. That's a different dynamic way of showing the artwork. You're showing it from a different direction. So that person, is off going on, and then you show another scene where it's actually all the stuff going on in that a lot closer shot. And then you go in closer, and you go to the husband and wife that are injured because of the car accident. So you're just going further and further in on that. And then you do a picture of the wife's arm that's broken. The husband's got a cut with blood gashing down his face. Yeah, you just have to kind of look at it from a different set of lenses. If you take a look at, like, TV shows, they'll do the same kind of moves. Um, if you take a look at Michael Bay is actually a good one to do an example of. There's a shot that he does almost in every movie now. It's this pan where he goes from left and it goes like above and then comes to the right, or it'll go the other way. And he uses it all the time. And when you see it, you know, you know what it is. And you don't want to just keep on doing that to yourself. You want to kind of challenge yourself by finding those different angles, because it makes your stuff seem a lot better. It gives your work a lot more life. When we're in the thick of it, we don't think about that. But that goes back to what I was talking about yesterday. If you're, doing all that prep work in the beginning, you'll be able to see the bigger picture. Yeah, I got to show you guys what I'm working on for the my event this weekend. Pull it up here on my phone in just a sec. then we'll get back to talking about the art stuff. All right, so this is what is being done. So this was the piece that my student did. 17 hours worth of work. Like, that thing is insane. And that's a 24 by 24 inch string art piece. So that was one. And then this is the one that I'm working on. And that'll be in the show. So that one is, so far we put in about 5, almost 6 hours worth of work on it. So I'm going to wrap this up today. I have to finish up the ring here, and then I have some like intricate parts I got to do on here. But once it's done, it's going to look beautiful. So we're going to get that prep for the show this weekend. Cool. All right. But yeah, I mean, getting back to the art stuff, is just, we want to just make sure that we're trying new things, trying new angles. Definitely important to look at old work to make sure that you're not redoing work that you've done already or designs. So again, it's good to see those thumbnails. I would say, it's good to look at reference, but don't harp on it. Like, when you're trying to draw your stuff, try not to have other people's work in front of you, because you inadvertently will start putting that stuff into your work, and you don't want to do that. You want it to be your own. Like, I found myself trying to copy a lot of Todd McFarlane's styling because, he's one of my favorite artists. So I would do ears exactly like what he would do. I would copy some of the angles that he did. At one point, I was doing a lot of Rob Liefeld inspired style of characters where they were like super massive on top, like they were really built up top, but as I got down to the feet, they were like super tiny. And in all fairness, that was one of Rob Liefeld's best things that I think I liked about his artwork. That made his work very unique. And he got rid of it, and I think his feet look worse now than they ever have. I think the style that he had before was way better. And I'm not afraid to say that to his face at all. I miss the days of seeing Rob Liefeld do like this uber detailed work that he used to do. What's up, Beyond? I haven't gotten his new Youngblood book yet. I've heard some like not so good things about it, but I haven't gotten his book because of that. I haven't gotten it because I have been very selective on the books that I buy, because I have a finite budget that I use for comics. So like nervous to get to this gun because I don't want to mess it up. Yeah, this has been a bit of a task trying to get this one right, because I still have to add in the green that's going to be in here. Which I haven't added in, but I'm going to. I'm going to do it now, so that way at least I know where it's at. I've always wanted to do a piece where I have the green of his eyes, kind of, how it's kind of like almost smoky coming from his eyes. So I want to definitely incorporate that into this piece. So what I'm going to do in order to make that happen, number one, I'm going to black this in. That's definitely going to happen. But I'm going to go around his eye with this green, and I think this is a vert. No, this is a spring green. I'm going to have it come out, have it go across like this stuff. And I will light up his eyes as well. Yeah, I just want him to be like super, like, amazing. It's getting there. It's definitely getting there. All right, I'm almost done with this one. Just got to get my reference here. There we go. All right, I got some. It looks like I got some more browns I got to throw in here. So let's get those in there. Oh, no worries. Yeah, I mean, I earlier on I was just talking about my whole backstory as far as how I got into doing this comic book stuff, but now I went into talking about what I thought about artists that do like minimalism. Not my favorite genre of art. I like people that really put into the work, and um I don't know if somebody can't remember if I've talked to somebody about who makes minimalism artwork, but I don't know if they can really articulate how they got to that part, what their process was. Because you couldn't tell me that you just threw the paint on there and it was because I was at an angry period of my life, and this is what that looks like. That's not enough for me. Because if that was the case, any child that throws like a temper tantrum and throws stuff on a wall, that should be artwork. What's up, man? That means that anybody that does the most basic artwork should be able to be considered an artist, and that's not the case. Yeah, Joseph, yours is next. So I'm trying to figure out this Conian piece. So I'm going to probably take the weekend to figure it out and get that one moving. I'm just trying to get better every time I come to the drawing board. You guys challenge me with good things. I cannot wait to show you guys the piece that I got that I have to bring back out of my lot. Um, Let me just say it is a Bugs Bunny piece. and it's amazing. Like nobody would ever create something like this. But I'm going to show that off as soon as I get some of those printed up. Somebody talked to me about it the other day, and I was like, man, I need to really. There's a piece I got to produce, like reproduce. I've already made it, but I got to get it in a form that I can sell. Um, is it? Are you asking like, is it good or bad to see who you've gotten inspiration from? Because if that's the case, no, because we all start somewhere. No, the goal is to get to a point where you're creating your own style, and that happens over time. That is not a instant thing. Think of it more like riding a bike, right? Everybody learns how to ride a bike, but you eventually get to a point where you learn how to ride a bike in a way that fits your abilities. Like I might ride fast, I might ride standing up, or when I hit a turn, I'm leaning into that turn or something like that. Everybody's a little different, and you want to kind of ride that same wave when you're what's going on, Newly? When you're doing artwork, you want to get away from trying to copy it or emulate anybody else's stuff. You want to make it your own. Case in point, when I was little, I used to copy a lot of Disney inspired work because the shapes worked for me. And this is when I was little, and then eventually it went to, the skill is to be able to ride on the handlebars and not on the seat. Can you do that one? um, but you definitely want to get to a point where you have your own style. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, but at the end of the day, when you look at somebody like Finch's work, it's so distinct, and he's been riding that wave for the longest. Like you could literally walk into a room of David Finch's work and be like, "Yep, that's Finch. That's a Finch. That's a Finch," because his stuff is very it's kind of got like this weird visceral feel to it. It's got very bold lines. Yeah, and you know what? That's a house style that they want. But you have to learn how to do that. But at the end of the day, you definitely don't want to dominate what you do. For example, I don't know if you watched or looked at old image books, but there was a time when Rob Liefeld like had like awesome, I think it was Awesome Comics or something like that. But all of his work, like all the books, were trying to, or all the artists were trying to emulate his style, and nobody can do Rob Liefeld work. Rob Liefeld is Rob Liefeld. And when you have a house of people trying to do what he does, it doesn't work because nobody could do it the way he did it. They tried to emulate it, they tried to emulate the energy and all that kind of good stuff, but it wasn't the same as seeing him do the work. And the weird part was is that he would draw out like a lot of the layouts and whatnot for a good majority of the books. But the artists that he had were young. They didn't have his skill level, and they were not him. So creating a house style doesn't make you unique. I mean, if it's an overall project, that makes sense. So, like, if you're trying to draw an animated movie and you want everything to look the same, that part makes sense. But if you are trying to be unique to yourself, I mean, yes, you will have elements that are, you know, similar to other artists, but at the end of the day, you're trying to make your mark. You're not trying to copy other people. You want to be unique to you. I'll kind of equate it to wrestling, right? Think of like The Rock and Stone Cold. If they were like um, a a Hulk Hogan, do you think when they went against Hulk Hogan, they would be like, who would they like more? Would they enjoy seeing Hulk Hogan, or would they enjoy seeing somebody that's like Hulk Hogan? They would like to see Hulk Hogan, and The Rock and them would not stand out. So you have to be able to make something that is uniquely you. And that's why I said, when I go to Artist Alley now, I'm not looking for Lokis and Marvel characters and all that kind of stuff. I'm looking for artwork that stands out because all of that looks the same. Yeah, do the other part, like you said there, Gabe. The other part is actually learning about art. We don't do that. We just look at the pretty and we're like, oh, I want that. No, if you learn about like the background on the art, then it makes it worthwhile. I want stuff that I can put up on my wall and I'm going to look at it every day. Or that when I pull it out of my collection, I'm like, wow, this is so cool. I have an artist friend that I've bought artwork from before, and I want him to do a commission for me because I love his style. I just at this point, I don't know if I can afford it because the starting for his pieces are like $700. But his work is so unique. He does such a good job at not only creating a good piece of artwork for you, but as he's creating the artwork, he's trying to up his style in the process. So you're actually watching the magic happen. And I would say that that's part of his style because he doesn't stick to just one thing. He wants to know more genres of art. We were just talking about it the other day. He did a post and he was like, somebody was trying to troll on him and saying that his work was like AI art. And he's like, absolutely not. I do all my shit and I prove it. Let me show you. Let me show you this stuff. Let me see if I can find it here. Let me see, where is it? Where did he put his stuff? I gotta find him here. Where are you, Rob? So, like, this is the stuff that we were looking at. So, once we dive deeper into sequential art, then push the camera around. Yeah, absolutely. You basically, when you're doing sequential art, you're starting broad and then you get into the really deeper aspects of your design. So like this is the piece that he's working on right now. Like that shit is crazy. This is his design process. I mean, let's see if he's got the full one. Yeah, this is it. So he did the color sample so that way we could see how he does it. There's the final. But again, I look at stuff where, I really take the time to learn from people that um, do it better than me. I look at a lot of storytelling. Oh yeah, his older art is way different than that. Absolutely. But it took him a while to get to that point. He simplified it a lot. And again, he's all about process, and that's one of the things that I learned. And the process part, I learned more from watching The Prophet than I learned anywhere else. Let's see, that's supposed to be black. This is supposed to be black. Sorry, I'm trying to fix some of the things that I did not do earlier. What's going on? Yeah, that's a must. The one cool thing about Spawn that I, even remember when I was watching some of the videos that Todd McFarlane would make about this character, he would say that the suit was its own character. Like it had its own life, so it had to move just like the person had to move. So the cape, or in this case the jacket of this character, has to move around. I even put movement in the hat. I tipped the hat forward because I wanted to give a little bit of angle to it. Some people have it like straight up and down, but I wanted it to have a little bit of character to it. I didn't want it to be boring. So that's one of the reasons why I made that decision to make that cap curve forward. Again, some people would have it straight up, but I've seen it in different angles and whatnot. And I wanted everything to kind of like move. So the way I did the character is that he does this like curve like this, like it's a almost like a bow. So if you look at it, it looks almost like a bow. So it starts here, curves, and then comes down here. Oh yeah, I'm getting ready to go and do that right now. I'm popping that in right now. So I'm putting the black in, and then I had to put the green in because that's just going to be a placeholder. And then I'm going to work in some lighter and darker greens to make that pop out. And then ultimately in the middle, I'm going to put a white in there to make it really pop. So I'm going to build that up. Yeah, I think I was going to grab my Poscas, and I think I might use that for the background. So just out of curiosity, I'm going to throw this out here for anybody that's on here. What do you think about getting a sketch cover and a sketch with your when you buy your sketch cover? What do you think about that as an idea? I was thinking about that yesterday. So basically what you'll do is you'll get a sketch cover, you'll purchase your sketch cover, same price, and then with it, you're going to get a sketch in addition. Now you don't get to pick which sketch, but I'm going to post up like probably on my Instagram of sketches that I'm going to do, and you'll get one of those sketches to go with your piece. What do you guys think of that? Yeah, I think it's going to be a good idea. I think it'll work out really well. I think it's a win-win because I can do like quick sketches and people get some cool stuff. And then what I think I'm going to do in the next couple weeks, I'm going to do when I do my a couple of giveaways, and I also am doing my um what is it, the bidding. I'm going to do it that way too. Yeah, I'm going to end up doing that probably in the next week or so. I just want to build up a set of sketches first so that way I can have them, and it'll range, but the size of it will be the same size as this, so you'll get a nice little sketch there. Look, I ended up buying a couple of pieces from a friend of mine because he did that. Because I was like, man, this is a dope idea. I'm cool. I'm good with that. I didn't care what he drew. I really didn't. I was like, you could draw dirt and I'm going to get it. So I bought two of them and I got two beautiful sketches from him. Check out those skulls getting that life as soon as I pop that black in the eye. I love it. Give him that bandana, make it look a little different. All right, so here is this eye. Do I want to go that route? Yeah, we'll just black it all in. Same thing with this one. Black that whole thing in there. Nostrils, same thing. Did I miss any skulls? I think I got all of them. We're good. All the skulls are looking good. All right, so that covers that part. So now, I'm wondering if, yeah, I think what I'm going to do, hang on one sec. I'm going to go see if I can get my Poscas real quick. Oh. All right, got my Pascas. We're ready to rock and roll. So, can either go. I could go all black, which I don't know if I really want to do all that. I don't want to do all black. I have gold and I have silver. Let me see what the silver looks like because I haven't used this one yet. You've been calling them pastas? That's funny. That's hilarious. Do I want to do that or let me just check. I'm going to do a sample real quick because I want to see what it looks like. I have to see it first. It's always important to try your stuff. Well, pastas does make sense in that respect. I might have to go out and go get some. We'll see. I mean, I have this silver, but I don't know if I really like the silver. I don't really want them like shimmering. That's the thing. So I got that silver there. I don't really know if I would like that. I could do like an orange on it. Trying to think. The red. What's up, Manny? Going back to my old color theory days. So if I go, let's see. Green to yellow. No, yellow to purple. So it's red to green. Well, you know what? I'm just going to keep it as is because I'm not going to try to mess up this cover. So let's just keep it as it is. I'm not going to jack that up. Let's start popping this out. So I'm going to grab darker. Actually, do I have that green? Does green work? Yeah, I think this is going to work. Yeah, this will work. This will work. Yeah, there we go. And that way I can go across. Yeah, there we go. Well, I should not have drugged that across that red, but that's okay. You know what? I don't know. I honestly, I am not understanding enough how this whole algorithm works, and I'm not trying to figure it out. I just want, I'd prefer to have authentic people coming through. It's way better for me. I remember, yeah, it was crazy. One night I was on here and I had like 30 something people floating through, and they were all bots. I don't even know how the hell that worked. But for some reason at night you get more traffic for the bots than you do during the day. That I found. I'd be thinking I'm talking to people and they're not really people. I'm not sure who's on here. Haven't looked. Steps on there, you're on there, and then Beyond, and then obviously myself. Oh, I know you're a real person. I saw you streaming. I saw you working. So, Step, when's the next time you're streaming? I haven't looked at your schedule. All right, cool. I'm gonna have to. I'll throw it on while I'm in bed. See if I can check it out. If not, my son's going to the fair, so that might be something that I check out during that time. Look, I got it. I know it. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. See, here's the thing. I think people don't embrace these things. If you aren't aware of it, then that's a problem. But if you're aware of it and you can use it as like a superpower, that's the best part. Now that's funny. I just want to get to a point where I can have myself and somebody else on here. I just don't know how that's done. I'm gonna have to figure that part out. So can you like on here because you probably have more experience than me. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Well, yeah, I want to do it. You know how like when you're on Instagram or you're on, doing a YouTube stream, you can have multiple people on at one time. I want to do that. Oh, that looks good. That's what I was looking to do. I like it. Thank you so much. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, I want to definitely do that kind of stuff because I think if you have like this dialogue is good, but I think if you have the voice of the other person, I think that would be dope too. Yeah, it definitely is. It helps make things a little bit, better. It's a collab. I like that. Yes, you did with multiple syllables, my friend. Yeah, I would love to do that. Gabe, I think I told you this idea what I want to do on here down the road. I want to get a bunch of artists that are on here and I want to do an anthology book. I used to do it with my students in my classes, and I think it's cool to do it. It would be cool to do it with a bunch of people on here. Now, here's the thing. I the kickback that I've had on it is that they're like, okay, well, who's the one that gets all the profit out of it? We all share the profit. So we all make the book, right? It's produced and it has all of the artists' information on it. And you take the work and you distribute it however you want. So if you do a Kickstarter, if you're the one launching that Kickstarter, like that it would have to be split amongst the group. But as far as like anything beyond that, then you would have to then it's all yours. Then you gain all the profit. I think that would be cool. Yeah, I think it's great in the fact that it's like, say for example, I do a piece, you do a piece, Gabe does a piece. Each of us has our own different following, right? And you might have somebody that sees your work in there and they're like, man, I'm going to really buy this because, Step does dope work and I really want her piece. And then they open it up. And not only do they get Step stuff, they also get, Marcus's stuff. And then they see Gabe's stuff and they're like, whoa, this was good. But now it's even better because I have multiple people's work. And I think that would be really dope to do. And I think the only thing that would be, that somebody would have with it is that they feel like they're not getting enough credit. And I think that's the problem. That's the only thing that whoever I collaborate with has to understand. This is a team game. It's not an individual winner. Everybody wins because at the end of the day, the only time that it would be um individuals when you're going off. So say for example, you have to obviously have a leader, right? And the leader's not getting any more than anybody else is, right? So say for example, Step, you do 6 pages, I do 6 pages, and one person might have less, not significantly less. So they might have like 4. Okay, we all split it down the line, evenly amongst all the people. I if I'm running it, I'm not getting any more of it. Now, the beautiful thing about it is that because we have multiple artists that are doing the work, each one of them is feeding the Kickstarter. So you're bringing different bits to that Kickstarter to help that project be successful. And ultimately, the person running it will be the person that's coordinating all the stuff to, get all the books signed, you know, to make sure that the shipping is done. And if they're not the person that wants to do all the shipping, guess what? They could have somebody else on the team be like, I'm going to ship all the books to you. All you got to do is pack them up, send them out. That's all you got to do. Yeah, I think it's extremely smart to do something like that because it's helpful on multiple fronts. The whole thing is that it's all getting the deadline hit, being realistic and, setting a goal from the get-go and everybody buying in on it. I kind of equate it to like doing like a heavy metal book. That's what I would like to do. Well, you know what? I'm going to really think on this one because I think if we do it kind of like a genre based book, I think it might be cool to do something like that. Like somebody does fantasy, somebody does like more like the realistic, and they do their play on it. I think it'd be kind of cool. But it's one thing that you will all have to sit down and, kind of figure out what the best plan is for it. I don't It's not going to be one person. It has you Obviously you're going to need to have somebody that's, running the front lines, helping out everybody and coordinating everything and keeping everybody on task and opening up the communication. But I think um the setup is going to be very, very important. Yeah, I mean that would be cool, like as an incentive, doing like some type of art card per person. Like there would be like each artist would do a card or something like that. That would be a dope thing to do. But I think anthology would be cool, but it has to have a starting point. Like if you did military, what is the central thing about it? So for example, like if we look at the anthology of the Matrix, right? There's different components of the Matrix. If we take a look at um Star Wars Visions, at the end of the day, it's talking about all these adventures, whether it be a Jedi or whether it be a kid or whatever, something like that. Or you do bring up a very good idea. What if we did a card set? Like we do a 52 card set. Everybody does 12 cards. I'm sorry, no, 52, uh, 12. Everybody does a quarter of the set plus a Joker, right? So everybody does 14 cards. So you do 14 cards, and like myself, I know how to like set up that kind of stuff in InDesign and stuff like that. So I have templates and stuff that I could use, and we set that up, and we could sell that. That way, it's not as much work. It's just a matter of getting them all packaged up. But they have to look like playing cards. That's the main thing. So, like if you do a face card, that face card's got to be an emulation of a king or a queen. I think that would be really cool. I wish I could say I could work that fast. You have a blessing that you can pull off four in one day. So I definitely give that up to you. But yeah, I think I'm going to pitch that to some people and see if they want to do it. But if you are down to do it, Art, um, I think that would be cool. I'm definitely in to do it. I just don't want it to upset my schedule that I'm doing. So if anything, we would have to kind of coordinate it out where it's not going to mess with anybody's schedule. Oh, they did? Hmm, okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't see it ping through, so that's why. There we go. Don't want to do that. Where are you? So minimize and then this. Oh, somebody bought the Iceman. Sweet. Okay. I'll have to get that all packaged up. Oh, Beyond, you bought that. Okay, cool. I'll have to get that all packaged up for you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think if we could pull that off, even realistically, it might make it as a Christmas gift. I think I might look into that this weekend and see what we can do. And I might talk to you guys and see if we can make that happen. See if we get it all produced. We pitch it in, say, like September, because school's starting up. Or even if we pitch it in, like, say, October, people are still trying to figure out like Christmas ideas. And people like custom playing cards. So I think it would be really, really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's just finding the right kind of style of card, but I think if we're able to come up with something unique. Now, I don't know if we could pull off um it couldn't be a a licensed character, so we couldn't do fan art and make that work. I think it'll kick back on Kickstarter because that's been an issue where people get cease and desist. So it has to be something that belongs to us. Yeah, I think we're looking good here. I'm gonna probably stop on it right now and then I'll come back. Yeah, I think it. You know what I would love to see if if we could pull this off. If anybody's interested, doing something with like Greek mythology and Roman mythology, or we could do it like based upon like warlords. Like somebody could do their take on Alexander the Great and stuff like that. And each card set would have like generals and all that kind of good stuff associated with it. Or if we did Greek mythology, we'd have like Ares and stuff like that. It'd be dope. The main thing is consistency. That's the part that we have to watch. Because if everything's not consistent, then we'll just have a chaotic set of cards. Or even better, what do you guys think about like animal based cards? So, you have people that do like land animals, people that do sea animals, something like that. No, 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 not one person does all the cards. No, I think when I'm saying consistent, like say for example, we do all um like we each do illustrations and then somebody comes back and hits the color on them. So like Gabe's got a specific drawing style. I have one. Steps got a specific drawing style. Like we keep all of your line art the same, but the colors have to be like consistent. I think that would be the way to go. So like doing I think if we did like animals or something like that, people like animals. That works too. So each one of the characters could be like they could be soldiers, right? So you would have like your king would be like the lion, right? Like animals of the jungle, animals of the um like African plains, animals from the sea. Yeah. Yeah, you could have fantastic like fantasy based characters, but we'd have to like have four different distinct groups, like different kingdoms, that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways to do it, but I think if we went something like that, then it's unique enough that people will be like, this is cool. I can buy into this. I personally like Greek mythology because you can definitely. I would love to do a Minotaur as one of the characters. I want to do a Griffin. I've only drawn one of those in my lifetime. Yeah, Cerebus would be great. Could you imagine drawing a Medusa? Right, Medusa would make a great queen. I'm just saying there's a lot of ways to do that, and I don't think that people have tapped into that idea yet. And I'm sure that each one of us has, a different group of people that follow us, in addition to people that are not in these groups. And the cool part is once you have the set of cards, since we can produce them at such a large rate and at a low cost, is you can take them to shows and you can sell them. Yes, that's my thing. And they're small, so they're not going to take up a lot of space when you go to conventions. And people are literally getting 52 plus cards of artwork. I mean, I literally have a guy's set of cards that I bought just because I wanted his art, and I keep them in the box. I don't even play with them. I just look at them. You could. You absolutely could. And if that pops off, we could always just go on to another project in addition to that. But I think that would be really cool to do with you guys. It's just executing it. That's the only part that needs to be done. It's just to execute. I'm just going to tell you straight right up. As soon as I go ahead and say I'm locked in, I'm going for it, guys. I'm not playing. So I'll be like, here's our deadline. Here's where we're going. Where you guys at? Yeah, this is the piece. But I would say, even something more, something even better that you could produce, right? We could take it up a notch, right? Whenever I decide to go ahead and do a print of it, yeah, I'll definitely send you a copy for sure. But here's something to take it a little bit further. So when we do the campaign for the Kickstarter, since we have the 52 cards, we could take the 52 cards and turn it into a book that somebody could buy. and the book would have like a little bit of backstory for every one of our artists, in addition to a couple little extras. Like you could get like the thumbnails that the person did to create that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When I go ahead and do a print of it, Gabe, I will definitely make sure you get a copy of it. Yeah, and you know what? I love doing those kind of books because from a developmental side for anybody, they can kind of see your process. And it's more of like a picture book minus the part about the artist. And again, you as an artist, you're not losing out because we'll all set a goal, like a realistic goal for the crowdfunding. Like we could say, our crowdfunding goal is going to be, 6 grand. Right now, realistically, like if we set that goal, that's not what everybody's going to get. And I don't know if you guys have ever done this before, but we're not going to get that because we have to back out our overhead. Yeah, I mean, all of these things would be considered, and all of you guys would see this stuff before it got printed and all that stuff. But we would do samples and we'd have stuff ready to go, and you guys would do your videos and everything, and we cut it all together and get the video ready to go out for the world and do the campaign for 30 days. And 30 days goes by pretty fast. And if we're literally actively, putting the information out there for people, they're going to bite. And I have no doubt in my mind at all that that would do really well. Yeah. And the cool part is that everybody on the thing, with the communication being right and everybody understands going into it, we're all on the same page. And we might and I hate to do this, but just to make sure everybody's on the up and up, we might just sign a form saying, hey, this is what we're doing. Everybody's going to get a quarter of the take. Everybody can see the numbers that are going, and you'll be given a total at the end, and you'll know, okay, this is what we brought in. All right, this is our total amount. And then we look at what we're spending to buy packaging, what it's going to cost for shipping, all that stuff. And at the end of the day, we might go from like 6,000 down to 4 after all of our overhead costs. But once that's done, you get your grand, the other person gets their grand, and so on and so forth. I think it is a fantastic idea. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, we're talking about doing like a card set. You came at it a good time. Just like spitballing ideas, and I think I've kind of figured out the best way to do it. I just have to find 2 other artists that are going to help out on this one. Yeah, like I said, I just got to find 2 other people that want to do the work. All right, so that makes one more artist I got to find. One more. I should. Well, I want to make sure that, art wise, we're getting some cool stuff. What's up, Peel Man? Yeah, it's just basically making sure that, you know, I get the right people to do the work and that all the work is consistent and cool. And everybody gets what they want. And trust me, I'm gonna put in more work um than what's gonna start off, because the big thing is that we have to have one person that's going to do the graphic part of it. So setting up all of the stuff, making sure you get in contact with the printer and all that kind of good stuff. Um, Having regular meetups and stuff like that, so that everybody's on the same page. We all know when it's going to launch, so that way we set up all of our social medias to post all of that information. Oh, you do, huh? Do you do card printing? Well, that's the thing. I mean, on the social media part of it, it's actually kind of easy. It's just literally setting up. You could pre-set up all the posts ahead of time. You just literally take maybe 30 minutes to an hour setting up everything, and then it's all automated. Well, that's good. Oh, well, mine things we're definitely gonna have to, touch base for sure. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to figure something out, because you're gonna probably be a big helper in all of that. Yeah, I think having options is important too. I would love to have a metal card set. That would be great. The main thing is making sure that the artwork is maintained in there. That would be cool, because I think a good thing to add is, like, if we were to do a sheet of the cards, that would be dope too. Because that would work as just like a piece of art. See, I think a white surface card would be cool, because then you could just do the black and white version. It wouldn't require color. Yeah, you and I are definitely going to have to touch base. If this is something that we're going to pursue, I definitely want to reach out to you, get some like quotes and stuff like that, and make that a reality. Yeah, let me follow you if I haven't followed you already. Let me get you on here. Where are you? Boom. Let me give you a follow here. Yeah, we definitely have to touch base for sure. Hey, Kay, take care. You have a great weekend. Yep, I just went ahead and I got him. I got his info. I got him on there, so that way, as I do this, as long as I get the right people in place, and we can really make this work, um, this is going to be a successful campaign. I just think everybody just needs to be on the same page of what we want out of it. I'm looking big picture. The campaign, the whole Kickstarter part is the little piece. I'm looking at the long game with this stuff. And when I say long game, it's like, okay, when I go to a con, my biggest thing is I want to have products there that are easily accessible. Like, um, thank you very much. And I think like having those cards in place is a very accessible thing, and families can afford that when they come in instead of trying to buy all of your expensive stuff. They'd be like, oh yeah, I can buy a set of cards because realistically, you're getting 52 plus pieces of artwork, for a much lower price. In addition to that, it's interactive, and you could also sell them on the fact of keeping one pack and playing with another. Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, I'm trying to. I wanted to do a collaborative project, and this kind of just came up during this and probably another cast. But what I want to do, I was going to do it more like a comic, where it was going to be an anthology where people would do, like, I'd have a series of artists doing different stories and compile it into one book. And as we've been talking here, it went from a book to like a card set. And I think if we have a specific genre that we're covering, like, say, for example, we do mythology, then each person can take a set of characters and interpret it whatever way they want. Now, the artwork would be just the black and white, and somebody would come back behind it and add in their colors. I think it would be great. I mean, it's all about the making sure that you have a good set of artists that are on the same page and are able to create consistent work that stands out. The other part to it, the hardest part to it, is just making sure, yeah, quality is huge, but also that the artists understand that even though their work might have taken longer to create, and they may think it's better than another artist, that everybody's equal. Doesn't matter. You're bringing your work to the table, and everybody is equal. And the only time that there's a split is when we do the Kickstarter campaign. That's it. Anytime else, like, you'll have a set of cards and you can take them wherever you want. You can sell as many of them you want. You can sell them at whatever price point you want, all that kind of good stuff. They're going to be original. They're going to be original. That all depends on the printer. Like if we can do that, like I think the exclusive sets, because my thought process is that on the exclusive, like the original sets, they will have like a card that goes with them, and probably the first initial set of cards will be numbered, and there will be something to make those unique, and then the ones after that will be different cards. Like there'll be the Kickstarter version of cards, and then there'll be the regular selling cards. And the cool part is that we'll have a company that we're tied into that we can all that any of us at any time could literally just go, hey, look, here's the file. You guys already have it. I just need you to print me off like 100 sets, and then they can get them at their whim. And they're already set up with that company, so we have an established relationship. But yes, the artwork has to be something that stands out, and that's going to take some time to make sure. And I think that's going to come across when we first do the initial pass of designs, and when we go and we start talking to each other and we're like giving feedback on each other's work, because it has to look like a playing card. That's the biggest part. I know that playing cards are a good medium to use, but I think if you get the right artist in place and you make dope art, it's gonna really pop off. Oh, by the way, Reg, you're getting something special in your when you get this spawn piece, just so you know. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll see when you get it in. Hey, you take care. Thank you so much for picking up that Iceman. All right, so this is looking. I think we're done. I think so. I think the only other thing I want to do is I'm gonna put a purple that goes around him. But other than that, I think we're good. Where is my purple marker? Oh yeah, I only got 5 minutes, so I gotta hustle because I got another project I got to work on today. Yeah, I got. I'm always doing stuff. Gotta slow down a little bit. But my goal was to get this done so I could send it out today. So I'm not getting off here until this is done so I can send it out. That was my goal. And I think I'm going to, well, not think, I'm definitely hitting it today. This thing's going to be done here in about 10 minutes. And then I'm going to drop it off and it's going to be good to go. Yeah, this has been a fun project. I'm glad I took my time to do it. I wish it had gotten done sooner, but you know, sometimes good ideas take time. Okay. Yeah, this thing's coming out really, really good. So I'm going to do this one, be done with it, and then I'm going to work on my string art piece for my show today. I think that should wrap it up for my projects for the day, other than doing laundry. All right, that is a wrap. That thing looks dope as hell. Let me see if I can pull that. Let's do a zoom out real quick before I go ahead and call it quits. He does look good. He's a good looking guy. Thank you. Well, happy birthday to your daughter. I hope she has a really good one. Hope you guys get a chance to take her out and do some fun stuff with her. I know she would enjoy that. Thank you. I'm looking forward to your next show there, Kay. I know you got a couple coming up in March. So that'll be very cool to see. Oh, you're welcome. You're very welcome. And again, I hope your daughter has the best birthday ever. Well, she seems to have a very good mom. So you guys take care of that a little bit. No worries, Gabe. Yeah, I'm wrapping up. I'm just going in here doing some like little like green accents to my piece. And then I am cutting out because I have an art show this weekend that I have to do. Actually, it's tomorrow, and hopefully I can get some additional faces and all that kind of good stuff for tomorrow. Like people seeing what I do. Hopefully, make up for last weekend's weirdness. All right. Yeah, we're done. If I keep noodling it, this is going to start looking ugly. All right, but that's it. Done. All right, guys. I will see you later. I'll be back on Monday. So take care. Have a very blessed weekend. And everybody else that's on here, I'll probably be listening to your shows over the weekend. Have a good one. Bye, guys.